Bam, bam, bam. Welcome, everybody.
This is IronTrap episode number 2.
Episode number 2, filmed and recorded right after episode number 1.
Quick succession.
We flew a special guest in from Antarctica, and he is here.
Yeah. Hello, guys. My name is Mike.
He lives not far away.
Yes.
But we're trying to sound fancy and important.
Yes.
So, anyways, this is episode 2. We're starting this podcast / video thing we're doing.
Since we failed to mention it in the last episode, this is a podcast and it will be on YouTube as well for you to watch. We totally forgot in the last one until the last 2 minutes to mention that.
But yeah, we're thinking that it'll be good for everybody because the concept, we'll go into the concept a little bit in the beginning here. So the idea is, what is your iron trap? We're going to use that term. And if you don't know what IronTrap is, go to the first episode.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
covered that
again.
But you have to describe that every episode from here on out for the first 5 minutes.
Trap you can't get out of.
Yes.
Trap you can't get out of. So the idea is that we could shoot a video with the person in their collection or at their shop or wherever the location is, and I think it will be an interesting way that you can also we can add some of the imagery, whether it's their collection or they reference an old photo or something, we can drop it in. So it'll be cool if you want to just listen to it while you're doing your thing on a podcast, really neat. But I think it'll also be a totally different experience to watch it on YouTube and listen to it as well, because it'll be kind of more like some of our videos we do where it's like a memorial video or a picking video.
Oh, the one at Dan Morehouse in that was probably our first style video that should have been a podcast, but we shot it as just a video, essentially.
And we're probably going to shoot, Dan doesn't know this yet, but we're probably going to...
Hey, Dan, if you're listening, we're coming your way.
We're going to come to Dan's and do a podcast that'll be like this. So, anyways, that's the idea. The way we're trying it, mainly because I'm super long-winded, but which is true. We're going to try and have 5 questions that we are going to basically ask in each episode, but we may cater them to the person if they're... depending on who they are, what they do. It may be a little more not as relevant to some people. But we're going to try and keep it to 5 questions. Hopefully that'll keep it a little more condensed and not go too left field, because otherwise I would be
5 hours and we're still here talking.
Yeah. So first question: your name and what is your iron trap, and how long have you been collecting whatever the heck it is you collect?
Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm an addict. I would say my iron trap is collecting. I've gone through multiple different phases in my life. Probably since I graduated high school, it's probably been 12-ish years. Just collecting. I went through a phase where I collected retro video games. I had a phase where I was buying and selling 4-wheelers and dirt bikes, and I collected rare speed equipment for that. And now it's been for a while, but while I was doing all those others, is beer stuff. Matt and one of our friends, Seamus, actually started me off on beer stuff about 7-8 years ago, and kind of just haven't stopped.
He's a beer snob, but not the actual beer.
Yeah, I don't really drink most of the stuff that I collect. Everyone that doesn't know, my last name is Hamm. So I collect a lot of Hamm's beer memorabilia from pre-Prohibition to the mid-'60s, and I have lots of it.
Cool. So you, with the beer stuff, was there something that made you decide to go all in with the beer stuff? Was there a moment or an item, or because it sounds like you were, and I know this, you were collecting a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
But what was about the beer stuff that?
I didn't really know there was 10, 15 years ago, Hamm's beer didn't become popular again on the East Coast. So I didn't even know there was a Hamm's beer as a child. I didn't know that existed. My dad didn't drink it.
Your dad dropped the ball.
Yeah,
that should
exactly.
have been.
Yeah, probably. So one of our mutual friends, Sean Houlihan, and his girlfriend at the time were at Jake's, and they saw a Hamm's beer tray, and I think there was some beer glasses. I don't remember, but they gifted me a beer tray randomly. They're like, "Hey, we were at Jake's. This was $5, and we thought it was cool. This is for you." And then,
joke's on you. That was worth $1,000.
Yeah, it's not worth $1,000.
It was worth $5.50.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, cool. There's Hamm's beer," and then I just started down the rabbit hole of oh my gosh, look at all this cool stuff. And then one of the things that like really solidified it for me is my grandmother passed away when I was a kid, when I was like 13. She's real big into scrapbooking. There's actually I have photos from a scrapbook she did where they were in like South Dakota at a car museum, and there was like a whole bunch of Hamm's beer stuff, and she took photos of everything and had like a little section in her scrapbook that was like just Hamm's beer stuff. And I was like, oh, like I didn't know she knew this existed. I didn't know it existed. And it's just a cool little connection, and then it's just been off the rails ever since, just nonstop. I bought a whole Hamm's beer collection in Oregon and shipped it home.
Wonder where he got that idea.
Yeah, I learned a lot of this from Matt. Matt and I have been friends for, I don't know, 11, 12 years. And everything I know I have learned from this maniac over here. The obsession, the buying and selling to fund your hobby, all I basically learned from Matt over the years. Just
and buying it right.
Yeah, buying in bulk buying it at the right price to make money, but also keep the best stuff for yourself.
And even just like you're probably a little better than I am at selling some stuff after a little while. So at least with you, you've probably seen it more often than I do, where it's like that some of the stuff that you kept that you really liked, then you bought it right, and say 5 years later, you're like, you know what, I don't like it as much. I'm going to sell it. And you're like, oh wow, I bought this for $200. I'm selling it for $700.
Yeah, I also have limited space, so at some point you have to make a decision. Well, you've had this problem in the past before too. You're like, I only have so much room for so many items. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool, but it's not as cool as what I'm going to take down. So I have signs just sitting on the floor in my garage that I haven't hung up yet because I don't know where to put them. I don't know what I want to take down to put it to replace. So it's an endless battle of like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but I can break up with him. Matt has a hard time breaking up with things.
Yeah. Well, didn't you have I don't know, I think you sold them all. Wasn't there like those PBR things on wood that you had like almost every one?
I forgot about that. Yeah, so Pabst Blue. I also collect Pabst Blue Ribbon stuff. That was the first beer I ever drank. So I don't know why it stuck. I just started collecting it. They made like these wooden signs in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they started remaking them now. I think there was 20. It's been a while. I think there's 26 of them from the original run up to the 70s, and I had all but one. And the last one I needed was 800. It averages around 700-800 retail. And all the other ones I bought at like a really good price, scouring like Craigslist and eBay. And I had like all the keywords saved in eBay so they'd pop up. And I got down to the last one, and it was so expensive. 2 of them popped up on eBay. Someone else that I know was searching for that last one. Him and I got a bidding war for the first one. Then the second one popped up like a month and a half later, and I ran it up to what I wanted to pay, and he actually won both of them. He owns both of them still, I think, because he cannot sell what he paid for one of them because we were the only 2 idiots that ran it up.
He didn't get the golden rule.
Yeah, so it got to the point where I was like, this takes up a lot of wall space. They're kind of cool, but I've kind of gotten to that point where I have almost all of them, 99% of them. So I decided one day, I was just like, you know what, let's just sell them. I'll take them down, and I can put cooler stuff in their place, which I haven't actually put anything on that wall since. It's been like 3 years, and that wall's still empty.
Wow.
Hey guys, just scrolling the new IronTrap Garage website. You guys have been asking for a while for a place that you can find everything that is IronTrap all in one place. So we've been working very hard behind the scenes getting a website together that literally has everything you need. So on the new website that is now live, irontrapgarage.com, you can shop our full inventory, or just about full inventory for parts, and also see what cars are for sale. So you can scroll through and see all our parts. You can shop right on the website and purchase on the site. You can also search and look for parts. Not only that, probably my favorite thing is you can actually watch IronTrap Garage right on our website. So if you've ever had a problem with YouTube not suggesting our videos for a while, like that happens, you can actually go right on the website, go to the watch tab, pull up a video, and you can watch a video right on your smart TV or on your computer or your smartphone, and it will play all of our videos back to back, so you can actually see whatever videos are getting posted. You can watch them through there, and you can binge watch all your IronTrap Garage favorite videos on here. So definitely go check out the site, give us some feedback, and obviously if you have anything you'd like to see added or any questions, you can shoot us an email through the contact page on our website. So go check out IronTrapGarage.com. We appreciate it. Back to the video.
So that kind of covered our question too. I was real smooth about.
Yeah, way to sneak that in.
So for the third thing, what would you say the key items in your collection are? What are the things that are really special to you that you have?
Well, that's a tough question because it changes every time I get new stuff. But the biggest thing is probably when I got married to my wife, Matt was actually picking the day or two before, super unprepared as usual, picking the day or two before my wedding, and found Hamm's had a brewery in Baltimore. I'm going to get nerdy, and everyone's going to skip this part. They had a brewery in Baltimore in like 63 to 65. The first couple loads of beer, for whatever reason, went bad and skunked, and they couldn't sell beer in this area because everyone was like, they suck. Their beer's terrible. We're not buying it. So they had these specialty signs that were for the East Coast market only, certain design. And Matt just happened to find one randomly in a falling down building, like 100 feet.
Yeah, it was across the street from my old house that I had before I lived here. Like literally, I lived there for like 7 years and never went across the street to like the neighbor that had like old junk laying around. Somehow I got in there, and their family owned like a bottling company.
Yeah, it was
or
a bottling
something.
company.
So they had a bunch of old like beer and soda and different stuff, and that was in there, but it was, surface rusted and crappy. So I literally like the night before at 10 o'clock at night, I was spray painting the thing because I was like, I already knew it was obnoxious to give it to him as a wedding gift, but I was like, at least
It was perfect.
if his wife to be or wife at that point by the reception sees it, it'll be painted and it'll be cleaned up and it'll look okay. So I spray painted it like the night before, took it there, and I think it smelled like spray paint.
It was set up on our gift table, plugged in, and lit up for everyone to see. And I was like,
and I didn't wrap it. Of course we didn't wrap it. We just set it on the table. It started a tradition because our buddy Jason just got married, and we did like the same thing. We put like some stuff that's a joke, Moroso gold valve cover.
His wedding was a lot fancier than mine, and I
so it was
felt
a little more, and not as many people got the jokes.
And it was like when my wife and I had a reception, like the front door was like right where the gift table was. So Matt just like walked in and set it down. When I brought Jason's gift in, I had to walk upstairs through like a formal foyer with a grand piano out to the car to get it, and then sneak it back down. And we were like the only people there was like 3 of us that got the joke.
Yeah, it was 3 of us in the whole room.
Yes, so.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. I think it was.
My wife was not as amused as I was.
Yeah, but it was like meant to be, It was kind of crazy because it was.
What's funny is they're supposed to be like brown, and from being in that room, it got rusty. Matt didn't know. He just painted it gold. And
it's whatever spray paint I probably.
Yeah,
had.
I think I've had 2 of those same signs since that are nicer, but I refuse to sell that one because it's gold. And Matt painted it and found it, and it'd be like your friend giving you a sign. You're like, well, I found a nicer one. I'm going to take this one down and put the nicer one up. So that's probably one of them. And I'm trying to think what else.
Did you keep anything from that?
I kept small stuff from Oregon. Like, I really wish I could have kept that 5-foot tall styrofoam bear. But I have young kids that it was NOS in the box. It would have got destroyed. So that got passed along. I kept some small stuff that was kind of neat that filled in my collection. The Paps. Oh, I know what. I have I don't know how to describe what it is. It's a lithograph sign on paper. It says, is it welcome war veterans? It was for like Memorial Day that Paps did. But they never used it. It was like the marketing agency put it together, and it was like a test sign, and I own the only one.
Wow.
It's the only one that is known to exist for as far as we know. Basically, Pabst closed like their marketing archives in Milwaukee 10 years ago, I think. And so everything that was in the archives got sold. Wow. I don't know if it got auctioned or sold privately, but I bought it from someone who bought it from someone who bought it from Pabst. So I'm like the 3rd or 4th owner.
Wow.
It's currently not framed, sitting in my basement. It's like a weird size. I need to get it custom framed. I've been working on that. But it's one of one, the only one known to exist. I haven't found anyone else that's owned one ever. So that's probably the other thing. I'm trying to think of. I have so much stuff just sitting in piles, but I own the rest. Like,
Do you have any? Don't you have some like weird beer taps? Did I remember that handles?
I have some stuff. I have actually have a Boyertown tap handle from the Boyertown Brewery. I'd like to use it in a car someday. It's not super nice, so it's probably better in a hot rod.
Yeah, the killer.
Or Matt will come in one day and it'll be threaded onto a shifter in one of the
If
cars.
we find like a historic Road Nights car, from
Yeah.
the Boyertown Road Nights Hot Rod Club.
I'll just bring it in one day and,
We'll have
and
to
put it on the
that.
shifter. Trying to think. I got 4 or 5 other Baltimore specific Hamm signs. I have a weird mindset where Matt has the same problem. If you don't like narrow in on something, you just end up with everything. Matt, you did that with what, the 59AB heads for the most part.
Yeah, flathead heads and even intakes.
That's true.
I kind of narrowed into it has to be rare and it has to be 59AB style.
Yeah.
Just to keep it under.
I have the same problem. If I don't do that, I end up with tens of thousands of things. I had that problem with video games and other things in life. And it just ends up with I have all this stuff, but none of it's really that cool. So like Matt does, you have to narrow it down to specific. So like the Hamm's Baltimore region stuff I collect because I can find it locally. I can hunt for it. It pops up at random beer shows locally. It's a lot more fun to hunt for than buying stuff off the internet.
Yeah, and I guess like you can find that in the wild, as we say.
Yeah.
Go into a local farmer flea market or something because it is sort of local.
Yep.
It's more likely than if you're searching for something that was only in Milwaukee.
Yep.
It's not very likely.
I found 3 or 4 or 5 of them just like Facebook Marketplace or go to like beer shows in this area are usually specific for what was in this area. So there was a bunch of breweries in Allentown and Reading, and that it kind of stays to this area. It doesn't really go to Philly and down to Baltimore, but occasionally because they were local to this area, it'll just walk in and it'll randomly be for sale.
That's cool.
No one has any idea what it is. Affordable price, you snatch it and put it up on the wall.
So, what is the one thing that got away in as far as your collecting or whatever goes over the years?
It got away, and then I just bought one recently. So years ago, I was buying and selling, keeping some beer stuff for myself, and then reselling to pay what I bought off to make it affordable without putting out a lot of money. I bought 2 chalkboards, that would have been at a bar that someone would have wrote on. They were NOS, brand new, still in the wrapper. For Sunshine, which was brewed in Reading, and I think I bought. I'm trying to remember. I think I bought 3 of them from some young guy. I don't know how he ended up with them, but one of them is super rare. It's real small, super hard to find. I sold that one for double of what I paid for everything. I was high-fiving myself. I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. I kept 2 of the common ones for myself. Then I got real heavy into buying those chalkboards. I have a ton of chalkboards for local breweries, and I was kicking myself because I was like, wow, I had one. It was in my hands, NOS, but I sold it, and then I just bought one. I don't know, that was about 6 years ago, and I think it was about the last year and a half one popped up for auction at an auction site, and I was like,
Did you pay more or less than you sold the other one?
less. It was used, you could see writing in it, but I needed to put it back on my wall. I righted my wrong, kicking myself in the butt. So that's probably the only one I can really think of. I'm pretty. I like to go after things when I see them.
There was that one thing. I think you bought it to resell, but there was that one sign that I ended up finding at Wheels of Time, and you had saw it at the truck show. The guy had a beer sign, and you didn't get his number or something.
Oh, it actually applies to another one. He had 2 items. That guy collects beer stuff, so he sells signs occasionally. I bought a new Weiler. It's a weird diamond-shaped, big metal sign. If you saw us at Wheels of Time, it was in our booth the whole weekend, pretty much. It's big 3D bubble. It's real neat. But he actually had a Horlockers, which was brewed in Allentown, a porcelain convex sign. It was domed.
Oh wow!
It was about retail $3,500. It was pretty expensive. And I think that was right. Yeah, he had that up for sale right when I quit my job to work for you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had like not a whole lot of money. I just quit my job. I just had a
Didn't
child.
know if this IronTrap thing was
Yeah.
gonna work
I
out.
was like, man, that's a lot of money to spend on a sign to put on my wall. And there's like 10 that exist. And I was like, man, I should really buy this, but I'm going to be a responsible adult and not buy it. Yeah.
Boo.
I'm such a loser.
Anything you'll learn from our channel is don't be responsible.
I should have bought it. It would look so cool on my wall.
Suckers.
My wife's going to listen to this and be like, that was a very smart financial decision, Mike. Thank you.
Whatever. Think how cool it would have been.
Yeah.
That story would have been way cooler.
Yeah, well, I could have inserted a video clip of it on my wall right here.
So, what is your North Star item? What would be the item in your current collecting that would be outrageous? You wish you could find, that you would, if it came up, you would step up and make it happen.
That Horlocker sign we just talked about. No, I'm just kidding. There's some pre-prohibition stuff. So the stuff that was from before prohibition, like porcelain, super neat advertising, very, very expensive. There was like corner signs. For whatever reason, they'd put them on like the face of the outside of a bar on the corner so you could see it from any direction. They're like cylinder shaped. Super rare porcelain. Most of them got destroyed when the buildings got tore down. There's some Hamm's ones that I've seen that were found in the Milwaukee area.
Wow.
The problem with that stuff is it didn't exist in our area back then. So it's hard I'd never be able to find it in the wild unless we're in an estate in St. Paul in Minnesota.
I don't know. You never know. Like I found those beer signs in Milwaukee.
That's true.
They were like turned backwards in the barn.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are these tin things?
Yeah.
Oh, they're beer signs. So
That's true. I mean, we just got to do more picking in the Minnesota area.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's chances to find that in the wild, but that's why I started collecting the local stuff, because there's like holy grail items we go picking so often, be like up in the attic. You're like, oh, what's this piece of metal? And you pull it out, and it's a corner sign for like a local brewery. It's like, oh my God, that would be so awesome to hang on the wall. So that's probably pre-prohibition stuff I'd like to get into, but that's it's like going from a Model A to a 32. Like the tax bracket that those guys play in is very different.
Yeah,
very
but it's
expensive.
It's easier. You can have less signs hanging on the wall.
True. That's very true.
You
but
wow them with the.
yeah, so that's on my list. I'd like to find some of that stuff, but got to be right time, right place.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, quick and easy, 25 minutes.
I'm not very long-winded, apparently.
No.
I don't have very exciting stories compared to Matt. I'm kind of lame.
Well, and in the short time you've been like collecting the beer stuff heavily, I feel like you've gone through a bunch of phases. You're pretty good at like you were saying
I get bored very easily.
the wood board thing,
Yeah.
like those Paps things. I remember you were super into them for a while, so it was like you're pretty good at like rounding out a collection. You got like 90% of them in a year or two.
Yeah,
or
it was like a
whatever,
year
and
and
then
a
you're
half.
like, okay, that was fun. Let me move on to the next thing.
I do that. I mean, even with when I collected retro video games, I was the same way. I had a huge collection, like 700-800 games. I had a whole room that was just filled with stuff, vintage systems and all boxes and store displays and all kinds of stuff. And then my wife and I found out we were having our first kid, and where the game room was now becoming a nursery. So I basically said,
Thanks, Nate.
yeah, way to ruin my
Sure.
life. No, I'm just kidding.
I could be playing video games by myself.
Sorry for saying that. I'm just kidding. So
Just kidding.
basically, I broke up with all of it. Like that month that we found out, it was basically just like, okay, it's all got to go. Just sold everything. I didn't keep a single item.
But how psyched was she when you told her how much money you were? Like,
Yeah, she was pretty excited. I mean, I was already paying our mortgage at that point with retro video games, buying and selling heavily. It just was like, oh, look, there's a stack of money now because
threw
it's
it
all
on the
gone.
bed like you were some kind of
Yeah.
like poker player that
Yeah.
just won a big thing. Look at this baby.
Yeah. So I go through phases where I'll just be like, you know what? I've had fun with this. Pass it along. Go to the next thing.
Very cool.
It's my ADD.
Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. And we'll be doing another one very soon. And we're going to be going. We figured we'd cover the two easiest ones
Yeah.
right
yeah.
away. So we'll be doing some
Local legends. As we like
local
to-
legends and different people that
Yeah.
are very interesting and inspirational to us here soon. So
And the fun thing about this podcast, in the future at some point, Matt may not be available, so I'll be interviewing them. So
Or
they'll be
Moon might.
yeah,
be
we might
interviewing
send
them.
Moon along to just lick the microphone.
Moon.
We might send Steve too. Who knows?
Yeah, there'll be lots of silence.
Yeah, just like so.
Squeak.
So they'll be different. We interview both a little differently, so it'd be nice to get different points of view.
Yeah, like Pretty Girls.
Yeah.
Probably I would handle.
Yeah, Matt.
interview
They're
them.
all for Matt, and I'll get all the old men.
Old man.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yep.
That's our podcast. See you later.
Yep.